Welcome to AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. Each month, we deliver informative health and wellness topics you want to know about, so make sure to subscribe to us on your preferred podcast platform. And if you have any questions about content discussed in this episode, ask them at AFSPA Live, our live Q&A session streaming every last Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/AFSPA Cares. Now here's your host, Chief Executive Officer Kyle Longton.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of AFSPA Talks. I'm Kyle Longton, and with me as always is...
Maddie Norton.
Maddie, it's another episode for April.
Yep.
And I'm excited because we have a lot of stuff coming up. So before we get to our topic for today, I think you have a better handle on all the things that are coming up than I do. So I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about them, and I'm sure our listeners would benefit from that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll give my spiel. So we have all of our events on the afspa.org/events page. So if you want to look to see what we have all the way through June, definitely check that out. Most important, I will say that AFSPA Live is on April 24th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So please check us out there. We'll be discussing GLP-1s, weight management, most of the things that we're talking about today, actually. So if you want to ask your own questions, definitely join in for that. We would really appreciate it. And then next, we have a couple of webinars this month that I think everyone would enjoy. On April 22nd, we have Managing Employment Change. So if you recently have been unemployed, this will let you know a little bit about unemployment compensation, health insurance replacement, things like that. We have financial wellness checkup on that same day as well. And then on April 29th, which is a Tuesday, we'll be discussing transitioning successfully into retirement. I know that we've gotten lots of suggestions from members about discussing retirement more. So if you're looking for that, definitely check out the Prudential webinar that we have for that. They're offered at 3 separate times. So be sure to check that out on our events page and see more about what it's about. And if that's something you'd want to do, I believe that's all the events for April. And we'll wait to do further events for other episodes, but they're all there all the way through June if you want to check it out.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I mean, we recognize that this is, to say the least, a tumultuous time and a time of a lot of uncertainty for our members. Even
Right.
those who are retired may be feeling, who are already retired may be feeling a little uncertain of things. And we're doing all
Absolutely.
we can to get information, to tap into expertise from our partners. And Maddie, thank you for providing some of those that are coming up. We may also learn of others from some of our partners that they're offering, whether that's through Prudential or GIBA or anywhere else. We'll be sharing those, putting them on our social feeds as well as on the events calendar as appropriate. So please keep up with those and engage. We want to do all we can to offer you information, offer support. And we'll be doing that through regular emails, as I said, through postings on our social sites, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as the videos and the podcasts, YouTube and podcast apps. So please stay tuned to us. But we also want to keep our focus on sort of what's at our heart, which is health. And health takes many different forms. And this month we're continuing some focus from our annual meeting, right, Maddie?
Yeah, we are. We're talking about chronic care management programs.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk. We're going to get in with our guest into exactly what we mean by chronic care and so forth. But I'm going to give a little preview now because as we're recording this on April 7th, I
Mm-hmm.
recently returned from a meeting where I spent several days reviewing information from 2024, our results for a number of our programs, and I just want to touch on this. So we're going to talk about 4 programs with our guests today that revolve around chronic care management, and they address a number of different conditions. I'm just going to run through those and how helpful these programs from Teladoc Health have been for our members. And so the first is diabetes management. Some of you have heard me, if you're a longtime listener, you've heard me talk about my own experience. You'll hear it today with the diabetes management program. But the people who are engaged in this program typically see, on average, a 1.56% reduction in their A1C. And for anybody who's tried to get their A1C down, that's huge. A point and a half to get that down, even bring it within controlled, is amazing. And 78% of the people who engaged in the program had their A1C controlled after 6 months of engagement in the program. So just please, keep that in mind if you're struggling with this. If you're someone like a lot of Americans who is dealing with hypertension, with high blood pressure, we typically see that 78% of members who are enrolled in the blood pressure, the hypertension management program, either maintain or improve their blood pressure. And that's over the course of 6 months. And these are measurable improvements. People are engaging with this program. We'll talk about exactly how that works during the episode, during our interview with our guest. But we also have a weight management program. And 66% of the members who activated and engaged in this program lost weight, and in some cases substantial weight.
Yeah.
So look for that. Check out the program. Some of them lost 28% of the people in this program lost more than 10% of their body weight over the
And
course of 6 months. So this is a great way to engage the program. Similar with pre-diabetes management, both the weight management, the pre-diabetes management depend on a scale that we'll talk some about. And in prediabetes, 67% of members who activated lost weight, and 27% of the people who were activated lost more than 10% of their body weight. Um, which again, if anybody's listening has tried to lose weight, I know I have. Losing 10% of your body weight is no small accomplishment. It does
no,
require support. It does require constant work. So, and just changing some habits, and that's what we're talking about today. And we've got a returning guest who's going to help us talk through that. And Manny, I think you've got her bio.
Grace Silverio is the Director of Solution Strategy for Teladoc Health and the subject matter expert for chronic conditions, including prediabetes, diabetes, hypertension, and weight management. She has been a registered nurse for 18 years and is a certified diabetes care and education specialist. She uses her knowledge and expertise to demonstrate how our products can help members live healthier lives by preventing or managing a chronic condition, ultimately leading to behavior change and better outcomes. Grace is passionate about diabetes and is the board secretary for the nonprofit Diversity in Diabetes, working to create awareness and provide education about inequities in healthcare and poor health outcomes in individuals and communities of color. She is also on the Kansas and Missouri Breakthrough Type 1 Diabetes Chapter Board for Community Management. We're so excited to have Grace today, and let's get started.
And Grace, welcome back to AFSPA Talks. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Well, we're delighted to have you here. And Maddie and I talked a little bit in the intro. We're continuing the conversation that we've been having at AFSPA, both on our podcast and through AFSPA Live coming up, and even at our annual meeting about certain chronic conditions, particularly those related to cardiovascular issues. AFSPA, through our Foreign Service Benefit Plan, has offered a number of support programs for the better part of a decade through our partnership with what was originally Livongo, and now part of the Teladoc Health family of solutions. And I'm delighted to have you to talk about some of those, but I want to start off maybe a little basic with the term chronic condition. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, so when we talk about chronic conditions, these are long-lasting health conditions, right? They're often for the rest of a person's life. They can range from mild to severe and may require ongoing management and treatment. They generally can't be cured completely, but their symptoms can often be controlled or alleviated with medical care and lifestyle changes. For example, diabetes, right? It's a condition where the body has either stopped or never produced insulin or not enough insulin, right? Depending on the type of diabetes we're talking about. But it can lead to high blood sugars, but they can manage this chronic condition, right? It involves a combination of medications, again, depending on the type, maybe lifestyle modification like diet, exercise, regular healthcare checkups with your provider to improve your quality of life, reduce symptoms, and prevent complications.
And I know that our partnership with Teladoc Health includes specific programs to manage those chronic conditions. Can you tell us specifically which ones?
Yeah, Maddie. So we have diabetes, both type 1 and type 2. We have pre-diabetes and hypertension, and then weight management. So one thing that is really important to distinguish between diabetes and pre-diabetes is with pre-diabetes, you have this opportunity to help prevent or delay the onset of type 2 diabetes, right? You haven't been diagnosed. There's some insulin resistance. Again, your body's producing insulin, but maybe not as effective or using it as effective. And so there's this great opportunity there.
Excellent. And you mentioned the four different programs, and even before you mentioned both type 1 and type 2 diabetes as being chronic conditions. So what's required for someone to participate in the chronic condition management programs?
Yeah, so anyone who's been diagnosed with either diabetes, hypertension, prediabetes, and then as a result of those chronic conditions, they also have the opportunity to get weight management support, which is a risk factor oftentimes for many of these chronic conditions, but just so important for overall health, heart health, and overall well-being.
And since I know our members will ask, before we go any further, are these programs available worldwide?
Yes, they are. They're available. Your members are using their US address. And so wherever they work, they are able to participate in these programs and are available.
Excellent. So those DPO, APO, FPO addresses work very well. Or if you're using the Dulles address, it may take a little longer to get there, but you can use that too. So how can our members access the program?
Yeah, so can be easily accessed. Once you register, you can access the program via your app. So on your phone, you can access online. There's an online dashboard. You can also call member support to help you set that up, right? Either way, or you can use a combination of the two to get you started.
Yep. And we'll put the link and the other information in the show notes for our listeners so they can easily get to that. Now, Grace, you mentioned registering and using the app. Is it one app, or are we talking about like different apps for different diagnoses, different programs?
Yeah, great question, Kyle. So internally, we refer to it as the one app. It's the Teladoc Health app. And so it's all integrated into this seamless experience. So whether you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, if you're getting support for your weight management, you can find everything under one roof, essentially. You don't have to go to a different app. Everything that you can easily access within the app, you can also access in the online dashboard. So we make it super easy and convenient.
That's great.
Excellent.
I know it can be difficult to keep up with all the apps that you have to download these days. So having everything underneath one roof is incredible. Is there anything more to the app, or more to the program than the app? Like, are there any devices that are sent out to members or things like that?
Yeah, that's also a good question. So we provide amazing devices, but it is a bring your own device when it comes to tracking your activity, your physical activity, right? And so there's the phones, and then there's the watches. So we sync with all the major platforms in the market: Apple Health Kit, Google Fit, Fitbit, Samsung Health. Once you set it, it's kind of a set it and forget it. We track those steps, so making it very easy. But built within the solution, you also have the ability to log and track your food.
Oh,
So you
nice.
don't have to have a separate food tracker. So built within, we're always looking for ways to innovate and improve the member experience. And so we have this amazing search engine where you can find those commonly eaten restaurant foods, grocery foods. If you don't find something within our search engine, you just have to select that it's like a breakfast or a lunch or a dinner. Maybe put one food item that you can find in the search engine and then just snap a picture. So there's a photo food log capability, also making it super easy and convenient, because we have amazing coaches that can put eyes on that, right? Not to sound super cliche, but I'm going to say it. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And so being able to take a picture of that, the coach can see, for example, hey, Grace, great job on the salad. You've got some tomatoes and cucumbers there, but maybe next time try to avoid the half a cup of ranch, right? Let's like drop down to a quarter cup of ranch, right? And so the food log is very amazing and easy to use. Also, we tend to be creatures of habit, right? When I drink my coffee, I always use the same creamer. When I
Mhm.
buy bread, I always buy the same brand bread. And so it keeps track of your own personal library as well. So you don't have to go searching for those commonly eaten foods. It's very nice. It just, saves it there, stores it there for you so you can select it and save it. And then now we've provided food insights so that you can see your caloric intake. You can set daily calorie goals. You can also see your macro breakdown. So your fats, your carbs, your proteins. You can even see your sodium, right? When you have high blood pressure, you're often told to follow the DASH diet or lower your sodium. So you're able to see, how am I doing in terms of my sodium intake, and even potassium, which is important, for heart health as well.
I love this. The picture is worth a thousand words, hopefully not 1,000 calories. Um,
Right.
but I want to ask, like, part of this program is also that, yes, you're interacting with the app, and we'll talk a little bit more about the member experience, but I think um, there are devices that Teladoc offers to members that are a key part, at least in my experience. I've used the diabetes management program for a number of years, very successfully, very happily. But a key part of that for me was the smart glucose meter, and that it synced up. I could talk to my coach about the readings I was getting and different times of day and so forth. But it's not just the glucose meter, right? There's other options for the other programs.
That's right. So let's dig a little deeper into the diabetes management solution. So you're right. The devices, all of the devices are actually cellular enabled. So it's a cellular chip that we provide. It's not your cell data. They come ready to go out of the box. So you don't have to fool around with a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi. As soon as you use that device, that data is going to upload safely, securely, where you can view it within the app or the online dashboard. So there's no manual entry needed. With the glucometer, you receive unlimited supply, so no out-of-pocket cost to you, which is also another great feature, right? You don't have to worry about that. And the meter is smart, Kyle. It has an algorithm. It keeps track every time the member inserts that test strip. It's counting down. When it gets down to about 40 test strips or so, it's going to populate a message, have you verify your home address, and then send those supplies to you. So super convenient, right? For the blood pressure monitor, it captures your heart rate. It comes with an adjustable cuff. Again, no manual entry needed. And then the scale, when you step on the scale, which you would receive for pre-diabetes and in the weight management solution, it automatically uploads. We actually even calculate the 5% minimum, which is clinically significant. I like to call that out because I've been on a weight loss journey. I've been overly ambitious. I think we all can be when we're trying to set a weight loss goal.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, yeah, it's easy to do. And so having that, kind of a guideline to start off with that, is a good place to start. It can be adjusted. We're going to send positive reinforcement along the way, but it's a good place to start with that 5%. We calculate that for you.
That's
Excellent.
incredible. I think that's so helpful too, especially with like if you're running out of test strips and it automatically sends the message for you to put in your home address and then orders them for you. That's so
Yep.
helpful. I feel like I will notice things that are running out and I'll be like, oh, I'll make a note of that and then forget about it and do not order it. So I feel
Right.
like that really helps those who have forgetfulness issues like me.
Yeah, and it keeps people from, like, not staying on top of their
Yeah,
diabetes, right? That's one
exactly.
barrier that's being eliminated. I will mention really quickly that with CGMs or continuous glucose monitors, that is another device that someone may be using for their
Mhm.
diabetes. And so we don't prescribe them, but if you've been prescribed a Dexcom CGM more
Yeah.
specifically, you can sync that into our platform. That's another device that you can sync. We enhance that experience with some in the moment tips or education on how to connect the dots with the CGM data, because it's a lot of data, right? It's a lot of information. Some of it can be obvious to put together, like, oh, I just had pizza 2 hours later. My blood sugar is rising because of that fat carb combination is a little slower. Everybody's different though. And so we have coaches that have been trained by Dexcom. We also have coaches when you work with someone with diabetes that are certified diabetes care and education specialists as well. So you can have a true partner and a coach that can be your accountability partner. They can be there for you throughout your journey. You can check in once a week or once a month. It's really up to you. But we have these amazing coaches that truly are experts. And then in between those times, we also have the unlimited in-app messaging where you would get a thoughtful response from an actual coach and not a chatbot. So one-on-one telephonic coaching session and have a partner or the in-app.
That's incredible. I'm learning so much, and I feel like that's obviously the point of the podcast, but that's so great to hear. And I know we've talked a little bit about the member experience, but I'd like to know, is there a time limit for how many, sessions you can have, or, like, is this only for 6 weeks, things like that? If you'd like to explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, no. So again, these are chronic conditions. These are lifelong. There's going to be ups and downs, right? There's going to be moments where maybe your hemoglobin A1C or your blood sugars are in target, but you're still focused on your weight management, right? Maybe it's your blood pressure. And so there's so many different areas that we need to focus on to keep working on, because one affects the other. They're so interrelated, right? If once your blood sugar is out of control, maybe it's your blood pressure that's in control, or vice versa, right? And then they can really affect one another. And so there's lots of great tools. Again, it's a holistic approach. So not only is there checking your blood sugar or checking your blood pressure within the app and the online dashboard experience. We talked about the food logging capability, but physical activity is another area that's really important. And so within Action Plan, we have the ability for you to set short and long-term goals. And there's an emphasis on increasing your physical activity and moving. Notice I'm not saying exercise. Sometimes people hear exercise, they're like, oh gosh, I don't want to go to the gym, right? You got to figure out what works for you. We have something for everyone within that library. There are videos, there's step-by-step instructions, there's journaling. Again, you have the coach that can create an even more personalized experience for you as well. Another area that's important is sleep, and sleep hygiene is how I like to talk about it, right? It's not just the act or the behavior of sleep, but thinking about sleep quality and how to set yourself up for success. And so we have a lot of great resources and articles on how to do that.
And I will just say, like, as I mentioned before, I've used the diabetes management program. It was incredibly helpful to me when I had a new diagnosis, because I did not, my doctor told me, here, start these medications, and that was it. I'll see you in
Right.
3 months.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I could have gone back, had another appointment and so forth, but it was actually in the middle of 2020. So not the best time to be doing anything in person necessarily. And just having somebody who explained to me, look, you get on the medication, my eyesight got back to what it was before the diagnosis, or closer to that, understanding how, don't check right after you eat. That's what I was doing. I would eat and I was like, oh, let me check my blood sugar right away. It's like, no, no, no. Everything looks great. And so just having that
2
partner,
hours
having,
later.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, get that in there, get that clarity in there. But just having that information was incredibly helpful, because I didn't know where to turn, and I was, dealing with a lot of changes, and didn't understand what was going on with my body, and having that was incredibly helpful. And even when I had a change a few years later, turned back to coaching, and got some reassurance about what I was dealing with, new medications and so forth. And I think that made a huge difference for me and help me get my A1C under control. Um, so I think I just want to encourage anybody who's not sure about this, go ahead, give it a try. Like I said, you heard Maddie and me talk in the beginning about some of the results that our members and FSBP have seen. We'll include the link in the show notes, so anybody can find out more about this. And it's across all the programs. So I just really appreciate that we have this for our membership, and that we have a good number using it. I'd love to see more people using the program, and seeing great results. Um, and Grace, just, this has been a great conversation, a great overview. Before we finish, is there anything that you think our listeners and viewers should know about the chronic care management programs?
Yeah, so we are always looking for ways to innovate and engage and get our members to start utilizing the programs. And so we make that very easy within the app, within the online dashboard. These are lifelong conditions, right? And so you can participate as long as you are willing and able to, right? We're here for you. Remember that small changes can have a big impact on your health. Managing prediabetes, diabetes, hypertension, and weight isn't about perfection, it's about progress. So, taking steps to eat healthier, being physically active can make a huge difference in preventing those complications and improving your overall well being. So, don't hesitate to reach out for support. You don't have to go it alone on this journey. And no matter where you are in your health journey, the power to make healthier choices is in your hands. You can keep learning with us, keep growing, and keep prioritizing your health.
Yeah, a great place to leave it. Thank you very much, Grace. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Grace Silverio for joining us for today's episode of AFSPA Talks. For more information about the chronic care management programs available to Foreign Service Benefit Plan members at no cost, please visit www.teladochealth.com/benefits/FSBP or click the link in the show notes. This has been AFSPA Talks, a production of the American Foreign Service Protective Association. All information offered in this podcast is meant to be educational. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily represent AFSPA. Should there be any discrepancy between information offered in this podcast and official plan documents for the Foreign Service Benefit Plan or other products offered by AFSPA, the policy provisions will prevail. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to AFSPA Talks to catch our next episode. Rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, and share feedback with us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of AFSPA Talks. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an episode. If you have any follow-up questions about the topics in this episode, join our AFSPA Live Q&A session on the last Thursday of every month. We will be streaming live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AFSPA Cares. Thanks for listening.